I'd like, if I may, to throw an idea at you. The idea that we begin to live off what we give away, as opposed to a living off what we accumulate. The world is full of turmoil and anxiety. Change is upon us all. Man is obviously being forced to adapt and adjust at a pace never before experienced in evolution. We rush into a world society through the power of our technology and the population explosion. All problems take on a planetary scale, and the demands of social and personal adjustment are so great as to bring about a psychological state in which people become incapable of decision and initiative. It is a sort of soul paralysis, a protest against too great a demand. Well, these words were written more than a quarter of a century ago by the late Sir George Trevelyan. They were written in an article called Living into Change, which can be found on the online article archive of the Wessex Research Group Network website. Of course, if you did not know this, you might easily assume that they were written for today's life, our earthly lives here and now. For 25 years on, the pace of life is even faster, driven on again by our technology. Aside from the material and technological advances, human consciousness has also advanced to a point where we have entered uncharted waters. In many respects, time is now immaterial, the idea of the past, the future and the present merging into the now, into the moment. Everything is in the now. But despite this frenetic pace, we must avoid the scenario of soul paralysis, where we too become incapable of decision and initiative. It has never been so important to take time out to find your inner sense of the self, time to connect with the higher aspects of the divine soul self, to say that I am. Only then can we provide ourselves with the stability, the inner strength, to cope with the external chaos of our earthly lives. Well, fundamental changes to the planetary energy grid mean that it has never been easier to meld with our earthly being with the angelic or higher self. It's part of us that has sat on a higher dimension or plane, and it was separated out from the lower self as part of our human journey of evolution. But now, with the melding of the dimensions and the changing of planetary energies, the higher self seeks to unite with the lower self. This reconnection means we can begin to transcend the physical. We become multi-dimensional beings that are rooted, yes, in physicality, but are also divine spiritual beings that are part of a wider cosmic community of consciousness. Connection to the higher self automatically places us within a higher stream of energetic resonance or vibration. It gives us the initiative and the opportunity as well to choose whether we move beyond the lower emotions of fear, greed, manipulation and selfishness, and move our thinking forward to accommodate this idea that we live off what we give away. In some respects, this idea gives us a clue to the future, that we are moving from a reality that is less bound to the material, one where we know that everything is energy which needs to flow. Of course, much of our energy at the present time is tied up in the material and in material forms of energy exchange. For example, money. Well, one of the great challenges, certainly in the West, is to move our thinking beyond money, and instead of thinking in isolationist terms, that is to say, the idea that we need to accumulate material wealth and compete with each other, we have to move to a position in our thinking where, as I say, we live off what we give away. Instead of acting out of the lower aspects of our ego, we take our thinking to this higher level, becoming selfless in our thinking, placing higher ideals of compassion, respect, love, and the empowerment of others central to our actions. These are all aspects of the higher self, and they effectively become the new currency, the new mechanism for energy exchange. We are then talking about a fundamental shift in our thinking, one that has to manifest itself at all levels of our daily lives. If we invite our higher self in to our lives and allow it to guide us with every action or decision that we take, we can take this giant leap forward in human consciousness. A giant leap forward in the way in which we do things on planet Earth. Given the amount of decisions that we take every day, we will have to remind ourselves constantly that we are acting out of the higher self. For example, when faced with a decision, we might ask ourselves, is my response generated from a selfish position, a position based in fear, rather than a selfless position? Is my response allowing energy to flow? Am I handling this decision in the most positive way that is possible and considers the highest good for all concerned? Am I adding to the light of mass consciousness, the light of the world, by responding in this way? Well, if your answer is no to any of these, guidance is not coming from the higher self or the I am presence. And of course, by reconnecting, not only do we empower ourselves, but then through our actions, we can empower others. And together, we can be the generation that brings to birth this new, higher humanity. Well, I'd like to finish by reading you another short passage from Sir George's article. If man could truly blend his thinking with the creative intelligence on the invisible planes, then nothing is impossible in the rescue of our polluted planet and the transformation of our society. Yet this great ally is wholly ignored in our self-sufficient attempts to deal with our problems. Yet if we can develop the power to make contact in full consciousness with great earthly personalities that are living in spirit, we would bring to Earth the real healing that humanity needs. Therefore, in considering how we face change, we must think how we open our consciousness to spiritual forces which can work creatively within us. This is a supreme challenge and hope. In our materialism, we have wholly forgotten the existence of subtler worlds, existing not far away, but permeating the whole of everywhere on finer frequency rates, to which our coarser senses are not attuned. The angelic kingdom, the elemental beings of nature, and our friends who have left the body are all there to work with us in our risen thinking. And since there is no death, the prospect of ever-widening exploration of inner space is infinite.